This episode is brought to you by the future. Oatly had experts look into the future, which is totally possible, by the way, and then report back about what things will taste like when we get there. Learn about bold ideas, the dawn of decaf, and the rise of fiber in the Future of Taste report on Oatly.com. And we are live. Welcome back to the coffee show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your co-host. I'm your host, Kirk Pearson. Oh my God, it's been a tumultuous week, hasn't it? I just want to start off by saying, well, firstly, we'll introduce our show sponsor, which is Apex Labs. If you're not using these things at home, you should be, because I always have these people that ask me, you know, what are some of the things I can do to improve my coffee at home? So home brewers that they want to buy a La Marzocco Linear Mini and, you know, a Malconic grinder before they do the basics right. And honestly, one of the quickest and easiest ways for you to improve your coffee at home is to improve your water source. Like, even if you've got a coffee machine and you're using tap water, get some filtered water, get some Apex in there. Like, what are you doing? Make sure you do this. I also advocate big time for using or just making filter coffee time. One of the easiest ways you can make world-class coffee. But anyway, you're probably all going to go out and drop $2,000 on an espresso machine. And heck, if you got the money, who am I to stop you? But in any case, you should be using Apex Labs. There's 4 different profiles. I think there's a 5th one coming. And if you right now use the code KIRK2026 at the checkout, you will get a 10% discount. 10% discount, courtesy of us at the coffee show. KIRK2026. All right. So now that the sponsor read is out of the way, thanks to our good friends at Apex Labs. We always appreciate Apex Labs. It's been a tumultuous week. So obviously, Jack Simpson and I had a bit of a public spat. It has been resolved. We met up like a couple of gentlemen yesterday. We had a phone call a few days before that, sorted it all out like men, and and thankfully, it's all just resolved. And I think we both come away with that from that whole thing with a little bit of egg in our face. But you know what? It's all still up there, the content. It's all there for you to go see. So if you want to, there's a little bit of enjoyment up there for everyone. So I'm really glad that is out of the way. And I've been making content for a video that you'll all see on my Instagram. So I'm just going to pause the filming on that, which is on my phone. So yeah, been really busy. One of the other things that's been going on and one of the reasons why I haven't been able to podcast as much recently, which I'll continue doing now, rolled out our new packaging. Check this out. So this is the strawberry cheesecake blend. This is the lychee candy blend. And this took far too long. This should have been done so much quicker than it was, but these good things take time, and I spent so much goddamn money doing this. But anyway, nowadays I feel like if you order coffee from us online or if you buy it at the store, the experience in itself is just so good. And that's why I did it, because, we've got these really, really incredible coffees that we work with. And I would say that the average spend on green coffee that we buy is much higher than your typical roastery, and we just want the experience to kind of match the coffee flavor, which now I think it does. And interestingly enough, as soon as we just rebrand the packaging, so many more people buying beans in store and so many more people buying beans online, which is fascinating. So anyway, that's been a really good experience doing all that. But anyhow, I digress. But the title of today's episode I want to call is "Am I Destroying the Coffee Industry?" Because if you see some content out there, you might think I am. But honestly, I wanted to have an opportunity today to clarify a few things as to again, we'll do the pre-batched espresso conversation, but just to clarify some of that and what it is actually supporting and why I'm doing it and where I think the application is going forward. So me, Kirk Pearson, and Project Zero Coffee, we've been on the internet a lot lately, and not just on Instagram and TikTok and things like that as well. It's, guys, I don't know how to break this to you, but we've reached the next dimension. we're on LinkedIn. We are being spoken about on LinkedIn. Can you believe? Other bigger companies are noticing what myself and Project Zero Coffee are doing. And I find this really fascinating because, and if I'm to link this back to why people kind of are so vehemently against what I'm doing, I think there's a big clash between me being a specialty person serving specialty coffee and using these pre-batched espressos for coffees. And people need to keep in mind, like I'm only doing it for milk coffee, and a lot of what I do at the shop is co-fermented coffee. So here is probably, one of the biggest sources of revenue for me, which is our strawberry cheesecake blend. So pretty self-explanatory. Once someone drinks it, it tastes like a strawberry cheesecake. People really, really love it. And there's some other blends, and it's pretty hard for a coffee, even if it's pre-batched. It's pretty hard for this coffee not to taste like strawberry cheesecake. And, same with the other blends, one called melon ice cream, one called bubblegum. But even with our house blend, it's like nice and chocolatey. We put an anaerobic in there. It's not your average house blend. I think it's like a little bit XL. And that's what I do. That's the business I'm in. And most of what we do are milk coffees. In Australia, where I am, in Melbourne, culturally, we're very, very into milk coffees. I've been to other countries where it's, heavily focused on black coffee. In Korea, like everyone orders an iced Americano. In Dubai, everyone seems to want a V60 or an iced V60. In Japan, same sort of thing. A lot of people love pour overs. In Italy, it's an espresso. But in Melbourne, it's milk coffee. That is what we're known for. That is what we do. And, we serve all the other coffees and we put a lot of effort and love into all of them. But if like 80 to 90% of what you do in the shop is making milk drinks, why on earth would you not try and maximize the productivity of that? And that's my whole thing. That is my whole thing. And I'm perfectly justified in doing so. Some people act like I'm the great Satan doing what I'm doing. But anyway, and just to give people a bit of context, I learned from some of the very best in the industry. I'm so lucky that I had available to me some of the best mentors. That's not me pumping up my own tires. I really did get to work with some of the best. Matt Perger, someone that taught me a lot about coffee. Leon Holdsworth, he's a very reclusive guy, if I will, but taught me so much about coffee, and anyone that got to learn from him is just one of the most advanced baristas you'll ever see. Jamie Thompson, another one, just like unbelievable baristas. And, even I spent some time working at Axel. I got to learn from people like Anthony Douglas, world barista champion. I spent some time working for Honor. Got to work with people like Alex Murford, Matthew Lewin, Hugh Kelly. And these are all like great baristas, and Sam Cora, great people. So yeah, very lucky. And this is the skill set these are the people I got to learn from over the years. I also used to have a business called Sub-Zero Coffee, which I spoke about last week on the show. This is the tattoo of the Sub-Zero logo. And my whole thing at the time, so we started that in 2019, was there wasn't a coffee shop I could go to where I wanted to drink the exact coffee I wanted to on that particular day. And I thought to myself, what if you had like a La Palma L2 can geisha available as an espresso? I miss that farm. They don't produce coffee anymore, but I wish they did. What if you had a Takeshi available on the one menu? What if you had, I don't know, like an Esmeralda geisha? And that's kind of what we strive to do. And, where I'm going with this is I got to be exposed to a lot of different things of my time, and it eventually led to me starting Project Zero Coffee. And I just really, really wanted to have a more efficient way of doing what I do. It all started when I had some staff absence at the cafe. There was one day where someone called in sick and I wasn't able to cover them. And I thought, God damn, what am I going to do? And that's when I decided I'll pre-batch espresso. And I'd spoken to Matt Perger about the idea a bunch and messaged him, and he said, yeah, I'll come and analyze and watch and help out if need be. And that was a pretty cool experience. But in the time it took me to produce like, I don't know, 3 double espressos or 6 single shot lattes on my machine, you could probably make, I think it was about 30 different shots of espresso using the pre-batch method. And so what it really does is assist you in service. And mind you, this is going down from having 3 people to 2. So it can just, you can see why and how that makes everything work so much more smoothly. The challenge is for me right now is producing it. And right now I'm in sort of some discussions about, getting a different site where I can use an automatic machine to produce the espresso. And this kind of segues onto something different, which is about super automatic machines. And Benjamin Putt actually posted a really interesting video about this on his Instagram, kind of critiquing, or not critiquing, but sort of analyzing that not many people have actually taken up super automatic espresso machines. And he's got a good point, because I think there was a lot of theories in the industry, as long as 10 years ago, where, the hypothesis was that people are going to en masse take on these super automatic espresso machines. And it hasn't quite occurred in the way that I think a lot of, futurists at the time predicted would happen. But I would argue that it's starting to really snowball now. And that has been brought on by, things like COVID and, increased salaries that have made operating a cafe far more difficult. One of the big issues with that, particularly in Australia, is that most cafes haven't actually been wage compliant, or they weren't actually wage compliant before the pandemic. Something happened in the pandemic, or just before, there was a big scandal in Australia with a chef named George Calombaris, where it was found that his company were systemically underpaying people. Now, I feel bad singling him out in a way, even despite them doing the wrong thing, because everyone was doing the same thing. Everyone was doing the same thing at the time. And Australia's had this issue with compliance with people actually paying the salary and the superannuation, which Americans might know as 401k. And, historically that just wasn't done. But until now, so most cafes in Australia are now wage compliant, because if they don't, they'll get discovered and shamed and, prosecuted, I guess. So it's only recently that the industry's caught up, and that's why I think the cafe industry in Australia is really struggling. That's not to speak for other countries, but I think profit margins in Australia end of year are like 3%. So the average cafe that profits at all has a profit of 3%, which is, pretty pathetic. So that's why I got into the pre-batch, because, here the salary for a barista, the wage, is probably the highest in the developed world, or among the highest. Like, Denmark or Sweden or something might be higher, but it's extremely high here. You can get by off it's getting harder to get by. I should choose my words carefully here, but it's increasingly like the wage expense is a cafe's biggest expense, and so that's why I did this, because it's like, okay, we'll need to run off less labor to actually make my business profitable. And I don't think there's a moral there's a moral sort of deficit in that, because the other unique problem here is that we don't actually have enough baristas to fill the barista jobs that are available. And Australia's got a very, let's call it predatory, I think it's a predatory allure to try and bring international students to Australia, where we sell pretty shit education, if I'm to be honest, like tertiary education. A lot of people come here and study cookery. They study, these kind of crap courses at these quote unquote higher education organizations. And they do it just to get a visa to live here. Like let's be honest, a lot of baristas working in Melbourne and in Sydney, they're international students that can only be employed for 20 hours a week, which is also cruel. And, they're here because they don't want to live in the country that they're from. And, that's That's fine. I totally understand. I totally understand. Australia's a very fortunate place, and if you're coming from a country in Southeast Asia or some other part of the world, and you come here, you do a course, and you work as a barista, like your living standards have improved dramatically. So I totally get it. But anyway, I'm getting distracted again. But that's why. But those people, they can't actually work for you that much, and so as an operator, like you've got to make in Australia, it makes far more sense to hire someone that's a permanent resident or a citizen. And those people aren't actually available that much. It's quite rare to find. If you go to any cafe in Melbourne, a lot of the baristas here are Asian. They're from, Korea, Indonesia, Japan, China. Like I feel like it's most of the Melbourne coffee workforce. And so as a business owner myself, I've got to I need people for longer. And that's why, that's part of the reason why I'm pre-batching. It's like, well, I can't actually get that many people. So, and I feel like a lot of the cafes here are the same. They definitely are. And that's why we do things like pre-batching, because the people that we can have long-term, we want to keep them around longer. And in the future, hopefully we can pay them more because we're making more money and we can make it a bit more of a career. That's the goal. That's the goal of this whole thing. But it also supports what I'm trying to do longer term with it. I'm not doing this, like people think I'm some automation overlord that wants to get rid of the barista profession and the craft entirely. No. I'm hoping that we can, doing this can actually support some of the artisanal craftsmanship that you all love, that all the people criticizing me love. And that's what we want to do. In my organization, in Project Zero Coffee, we've got this, one of the best brewers in the country, Alex Moore. He's been on the show before. And we just invested in setting up a little station where we're going to have our staff making pour overs on a daily basis now, which we haven't been doing. But we're I guess economizing the bulk of our work, which can be done so much simpler and at lower cost and at greater scale, so that we can do these other things like making these fancy pour overs and espressos and all that sort of stuff. Pardon me. And it's very possible. It's very, very possible. So yeah, I might have said this in last week's episode, but I really wanted to labor the point. The whole pre-batch thing, it's not to destroy coffee. It's not to, I don't for example, I don't want to put the X bloom in my cafe. A lot of people have X blooms and they think that it's, a good way of automating that thing that's, kind of slow and laborious, which is making a pour over coffee. But that's one of those things where, I like the look of having a barista pouring over the coffee and making it manually, which I am aware is contrasting my view of, making milk coffee. But honestly, I don't think there's that much romance, to be honest, in watching someone bang out a portafilter, grind the coffee, weigh it, put it in the portafilter. I just don't see that as the be all. Like for me, when I go to a cafe, I'm not sitting there watching someone do that and be like, yeah. But with the pour over thing, my view is different. I do. I look at that and I see the craftsmanship, the mathematics, the eyeing, where to pour. Anyway, that's my view. And I don't think everyone should pre-batch coffee. Like, it's my goal. My goal in the next, let's say, year or two is to have another venue in Melbourne that is, we're pre-batching up the front, doing that for all our milk coffee, and has, like a mod bar type setup with Uber Milk Plus and like a column of pour overs, pour over equipment, like a bar that we keep open until midnight. That's one of the other things about the Australian coffee industry I don't like, and I think we can improve. We need to open our cafes later. I want to have a cafe that's open until midnight in the future. And, there's the population here to support it. I think we need to get around having some more nighttime cafes in Australia, because overseas they run much later into the night, and here we close at like 3 p.m. at the latest in Melbourne. So, yeah, that's my goal, to have a venue that's like that. that is open far later, that does the experiential pour over thing. And I want to get a bit of that Sub-Zero thing going. You know what I mean? I want to get some slow service, have like 10 different coffees you can choose from. I want to get a little bit of that going. It's coming. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Mark my words. You can support that dream coming true by buying some coffee at projectzero.coffee. I'm only shipping to Australia right now, but very soon we'll be connected to the World Wide Web and the World Wide Network. So no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to order some Project Zero coffee soon. Trust me on that. But another thing I wanted to talk about, and I made an entire podcast about this recently, but I re-listened back to it and I didn't like it, so I didn't post it. The war in Iran, the war in the Middle East, and the impact that's having on the coffee industry. First of all, I want to say, God damn it, can't we just have one normal year? Like 1 year where we don't have, conflict, COVID, rising commodity prices for coffee, war in Ukraine started. Just one. Can we have one normal year? Like after this one, can we just cut it all out? Please, for the love of God. We need to just cut that shit out because I'm so sick of it. All these wars, just so over it. So over it. Like, you don't need to drop bombs on people to get your point across. Like there are other ways to settle things. But anyway, the implications for the coffee industry are huge. So, I mean, number one, discretionary spending of our customers is affected. So everyone's got a little less money because they're paying, an arm and a leg for gas or fuel, which is, not helping anyone or anything at all. And then there's I think one of the big ones for coffee that we probably aren't paying enough attention to right now is fertilizer. So a lot of the fertilizer used by coffee producers to, fertilize their crops is produced in the Middle East or comes out of the Strait of Hormuz. And the urea, I think, is the particular one that there's a bit of a process where they have to use natural gas and all that stuff to make it out of Qatar. And the plants for that have just been bombed. So, yeah, I think there's probably some pain for coffee producers coming, if they're not already experiencing it, and then that'll come on to cafes and all those sorts of things. But I'm hearing in Australia that they're trying to, we're very affected by this because we don't have our own domestic fuel production, is that they're telling staff to work from home during all this, like a little COVID style work from home, which is just a diabolically bad idea. Like, do you really want to kill the city again? Melbourne was home to some of the biggest and longest lockdowns during that period. So just fundamentally against doing that. Like I can understand why people would want to take a bit of extra time to work at home, but like what's going to be left for you to enjoy after this whole thing's over if you all stop going and doing the things that you love? Like I know that a lot of people are going to have a lot less money and things like that, but please don't give up on, supporting business or like the things that you love. Because like you going out and enjoying a coffee is supporting people having a job. And, those people having a job is, paying income taxes, which contribute to the country, which, benefits you. And, they're also the money that they spend. It's all very circular. So one of the worst things in the world we could do is to stop going to restaurants, stop going to cafes, stop doing the things that we love. Even though inflation is what it is, like I really want to labor the point to people that please support your community. And it doesn't matter if it's just here in Australia, if you're in London, if you're in America, if you're in Dubai. I mean, and the Gulf states are really wonder for the future of those states because they've been sold as like these, safe and prosperous places, which they until recently have been. But then, I imagine there's a lot of reputational damage coming to those areas because of, Iran retaliating by firing missiles and stuff at them. So some interesting times happening there. And I'm thinking of everyone in those regions. And, I've got friends in Saudi Arabia and the UAE and really thinking of you guys because, it can't be easy for business. And I hope this is all resolved quickly and no one really knows what's going to happen in the not too distant future. So yeah, I hope that's all solved very, very soon. But I'm going to be back to interviewing guests regularly by the end of this week. So from next week, we'll have another interview for you. Thanks everyone for sticking by. Oh, last week I said I'm going through some personal stuff. I just want everyone to know, because a lot of people reached out to me about this. Everything's fine, but I am stepping up in my business in a big way. So previously I've only had to worry about, producing the coffee and like being in charge of coffee, sourcing the coffee and running the shops and this podcast. But now I'm going to be doing everything. So taking on that challenge. And I'm doing a long distance relationship with my girlfriend. So she's living in Canada. So I miss you, girl. But yeah, so, and some more stuff that I won't say on camera, but I'm doing just fine. Like I'm not going to die. Uncle Kirk's not going anywhere. All right. So again, thank you for everyone for supporting the show, supporting me. We're back with regular guest interviews from next week. I've got some really exciting stuff planned for you. And I'm hoping I can get to America in the next couple of months. So, in Canada. So stay tuned and I'll probably do a little podcast tour while I'm over there. So that'll be a bit of fun. But look, if you could all do me a favor, like this podcast, like the video on YouTube, subscribe, tell some friends, do all that stuff. Helps me a bunch. Support Apex because they support us and they support you. And to be honest, it's just a no-brainer. Thank you to Oatly and Barista Group for also being incredible sponsors. So thanks again, everyone, for everything. I'm fired up for this year. I know there's a lot of shit going on, but I'm fired up for this year, and you should be too. There's never been a more exciting time to be in coffee, and honestly, enjoy yourself. Hooroo. You can either listen to the third Oatly ad of the day about how you can go to oatly.com and find recipes for the amazing drinks, or read the Future of Taste report. It's from the future, or learn about the sustainability work, or you can press the 15-sec forward button on your pod playing device. It's totally up to you.